This is Christian Gomez with the New American Magazine, and today on the program we are fortunate enough to have Rebecca Kiessling, the president of Save the One. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us on the program for the first time.
Thanks for having me, Christian.
Absolutely. So there's this new bill that's currently been in the state legislature of Ohio, HB 413. Can you tell us a little bit about this bill and its significance to the sanctity of human life at all stages?
Well, one of the bill's sponsors is the same sponsor of the heartbeat bill, and some people criticize her for supporting heartbeat, like it didn't go far enough, but she followed through with this particular bill by introducing it, and it is, really like a personhood measure. It's protection from the moment of conception. Uh, it has a lot of interesting components. I appreciate the fact that it has whistleblower language for the mother.
And what
And
exactly is whistleblower language?
I've been a big advocate of this. For years, I've been asked, do you want to see pregnant women in jail? I mean, it's not like there's never pregnant women in jail for different things. If you commit a crime, you happen to be pregnant, you're still going to go to jail. But, no, I don't want to see, um, pregnant women jailed. I know that women are exploited through abortion, but, I also know that there's some pretty cold-hearted women who are going in for abortions. But I've always felt let's give her the opportunity to testify against the abortion doctor. I've always felt that the playing field, so to speak, would be different compared to prior to Roe if we empowered women and offered them whistleblower protection in exchange for them coming forward and reporting what was done, reporting the abortionist, testifying against the abortionist, because I think that there would be far fewer illegal abortion performed if the abortion provider, the abortion doctor, nowadays, they don't even want it to be a doctor anymore. The new law introduced here, the new bill in Michigan, would allow any healthcare professional to perform an abortion. But, those providing an abortion then would be, have to think twice if they have to worry now that the woman, their, patient, might turn around and testify against them. I think it's a genius strategy. I've been advocating for it for decades so that it would be an entirely different scenario because what doctor is going to risk getting sued by her and is going to risk having her turn against him when you prosecute the mother, now she's going to be afraid, but if you provide her, you don't want to just exempt her outright. uh, this is what happened in Roe versus Wade. In Texas, the mother had a complete exemption. There was no incentive for her to testify. And in footnote 54 of the U.S. Supreme Court's opinion in Roe v. Wade, under the personhood discussion, the court pointed out that Texas had exceptions and exemptions, and that this undermines the state's whole argument for personhood. That why would you exempt the mother? You don't really think that's a person then. And I agree, but at the same time, I want to give her an incentive to testify against the abortionist. So I love this whistleblower language in the Ohio bill.
So, if Ohio passes this bill, would this whistleblower language, would Ohio be the first state in the union to have such language codified in state law?
I'm not entirely sure. It might be. There's been a flurry of of legislation introduced and passed in the last couple of years. So I'm not sure if other states have that kind of. I think one other state did propose whistleblower language. I don't know if it passed or not.
So I'm going to assume that Planned Parenthood for sure is probably fighting this bill tooth and nail, and all those on the so-called pro-choice or abortionist side. Can you tell us a little bit about the significance of the portion of the bill where it says on page 162, Unborn human means an individual organism of the species Homo sapiens from fertilization until live birth. How monumental would this be for the pro life movement if this becomes law in the state of Ohio?
This would be fantastic. And they know, it could have an impact on IVF as well because so many clinics, they destroy far more life than is created. Um, Although, they advertise that they're, basically like selling babies. I mean, that's, women who are desperate to have babies, they go in there and pictures of babies everywhere. But they're really destroying more human life than ends up being born. And I think it's great that we have this kind of language protecting from the moment of conception. That's how it should be. And we know that this is a scientific fact that they are living human beings. I represented the mother in Michigan's frozen embryo case, and the doctors testified in that case that they are living human beings. That's just embryology 101. So I love the fact that the law can finally catch up to the science, so to speak. And what, our law has been schizophrenic. I mean, any woman of childbearing age knows that when she goes in for an x-ray, she has to, number one, sign a release that she believes that there's no way it's possible that she could be pregnant. And number two, she has to wear a lead apron just in case that, if you have conception already, that child is going to be protected from harm. And, if a child is conceived before someone dies, every single state has a law that protects the inheritance rights of that child who's been conceived. And so you always have to do an analysis of whether the child was conceived before someone died or after someone died. And the court can even appoint a guardian ad litem to protect their best interests in an inheritance case, a probate or estate case. Every single state has this law. And so again, you see how schizophrenic is that a child conceived has a right to inherit, but they don't have a right to life.
The bill representative Ron Hood, who's one of the co-sponsors along with Representative Candace Keller of the bill, Ron Hood said in a statement, up until this point, legislators have only regulated abortion. They have decided which classes of people have a right to life by creating exceptions to abortion, which is in tantamount to creating exceptions to premeditated murder. So is that where Save the One also stands when it comes to abortions and exceptions, and how in certain states where abortions are permitted and there is some pro-life legislation, the exceptions decide who lives and who doesn't get to live?
Yeah, and some people will say that the heartbeat bill has exceptions, for those under 6 weeks, and I really don't like, regulating abortion. I mean, let's end abortion. I think the heartbeat bill was great because every single abortionist testified that this would shut down their clinics, and that's really what we want. But I'm glad to see this personhood language. I've been a huge supporter of Personhood. I was national spokeswoman for Personhood USA and then for Personhood Alliance for many years. We were a founding member of Personhood Alliance, Save the One. And I mean, we're independent of them now, but because we just need to make sure that nobody compromises on these issues. And it behooved us to just be independent, really. But I've been a huge advocate of personhood before it was cool, so to speak. I was part of the very first personhood petition drive in the United States, the very first personhood effort in 2006 here in Michigan. Collected thousands of signatures or organized hundreds of volunteers on that campaign. So I love personhood. I love the fact that this is protecting life from conception. When I was in law school, I wrote a 43-page essay. If you Google philosophical abortion essay, it's been ranked anywhere from number 1 to number 3 for decades. And, I talk about protecting human life from conception. And even the pro-aborts talked about personhood. Before Roe v. Wade, the abortion philosophers that were proponents of abortion discuss this issue of personhood because they know that's the clincher. And that's why it was discussed in Roe versus Wade, because the 14th Amendment says that no state shall deny a person equal protection of the laws or deprive a person of their right to life without due process. And so, because our Constitution talks about persons having the right to life, this is why that's, so-called the name of the game, although of course this is not a game. This is real life. I owe my birth to the law which protected me. And Michigan has this 1931 law that's still on the books, that's still been enforced to the extent that it doesn't conflict with Roe v. Wade. But that 1931 law is one of the best laws in the nation. And that's the law that protected my life. And actually, the Democrats are seeking to overturn it now.
Now, when you say that law protected your life, can you tell us a little bit about what you mean to those who may not be familiar with your backstory, Rebecca, and Save the One even?
Sure, I was conceived when my birth mother was abducted at knife point by a serial rapist here in Michigan. She went to 2 illegal abortions and backed out because of the back alley conditions and the fact that it was illegal. She was pro-choice when we met and told me that it should have been her right, and maintained that position for the next 6 years, and then she changed her mind. So I literally owe my birth to the law which protected me, that 1931 law.
Wow.
To legislate.
So that right there shows the importance of pro-life legislation, whether it's in Michigan or Ohio or elsewhere throughout the union. These laws do in fact work to protect and save the unborn. And look at yourself now here, an attorney, a speaker, president of an organization with other women that have been through the same as you have, and others like Heather Hobbs, another guest of our program. So obviously all life matters, and you are a living example of that. Where can other people who are watching this program learn more about yourself and your organization and what it's currently doing to protect the unborn?
My website is RebeccaKiessling.com, and our organization is Save the One. And that's the number one, not the word one. It comes from the parable of the lost sheep, where Jesus says the good shepherd leaves the 99 to save the one. And he was talking about little ones who are despised, who are at risk of perishing, saying, for in the same way your Father in heaven is not willing that any of these little ones should perish, and neither should we. There's an unfortunate motto within the pro-life movement that you save the 99 in exchange for the one, and that is child sacrifice. That's modern day child sacrifice, which is an abomination and completely contrary to the heart of God.
Amen. Well, thank you for joining us on the program, and take care, Rebecca. God bless you, and keep on fighting the good fight for life.